What if I told you that the most dangerous force on Earth isn't a weapon, a storm, or even an empire? It's something far more powerful, a woman who finally realizes she doesn't need anyone's permission to exist. Think about that for a second. A woman alone. Not broken, not bitter, but aware of her worth. That's the kind of power that shakes the ground beneath people's feet. Hey there, welcome back to the channel. If you've ever felt underestimated, dismissed, or told to stay quiet just to keep the peace, you're not alone. And honestly, this video is for you. Today, we're diving into something Johnny Depp once said that left a lot of people talking. He called it a chilling truth: a woman alone is the most dangerous force on Earth. It sounds dramatic, right? But stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand what he really meant, and why this message matters more than ever. So grab a coffee, sit back, and let's unpack this together. Now, when you first hear the quote, "A woman alone is the most dangerous force on Earth," it sounds like something out of a movie. Dangerous? Really? But Johnny Depp wasn't talking about danger in a violent or negative way. He was talking about emotional power. The kind of power that comes from being whole, from knowing your worth, from realizing you don't need saving. Picture this. A woman spends years being told to tone it down. To be polite. To wait her turn. To smile even when it hurts. And one day, she just stops listening. That moment isn't rebellion. It's awakening. And it's terrifying, not for her, but for the world that tried to control her. Because now she's not seeking approval. She's not waiting for validation. She's free. That's the kind of power people call dangerous. But really, it's the purest kind of freedom. Think about it. Every major movement, every social change, every shift in history began with someone, often a woman, saying, "No more. I can stand alone." That's not about anger. It's about strength. It's about finally realizing that your peace doesn't depend on anyone else. And maybe that's what Johnny Depp meant by chilling. It's not scary because it's violent, it's scary because it's unstoppable. Once a woman realizes her worth, she can't be controlled anymore. And that's the truth that unsettles people the most. Let's break this down a bit, because becoming that strong, independent person doesn't happen overnight. There's a process, a few stages that almost everyone goes through before they reach that point of calm power. The first stage is what I like to call the breaking point. It's that moment when something snaps. It could be a betrayal, a disappointment, or just plain exhaustion. You realize you've been giving too much for too long. You've been bending so others don't break. And suddenly, you decide you're done pretending everything's okay. We've all been there in some way. That moment when you stop chasing approval and start thinking, what if I just focused on myself for once? That's where clarity begins. That's where strength is born. The next stage is what I call the silence phase. And this one makes people really uncomfortable. Because when a woman who used to explain herself suddenly goes quiet, people start to panic. They think something's wrong. But here's the secret, that silence is actually power. It means she's thinking. She's healing. She's starting to trust herself again. Silence isn't weakness, it's rebuilding. It's the space where she learns to say no without guilt, where she remembers what peace feels like. And peace is the strongest form of power there is. Then comes the final stage, the rebirth. This is when everything changes. When she smiles, not because someone told her to, but because she feels genuinely happy again. When she walks away from drama without explanation. When she doesn't chase love, attention, or validation, because she finally realizes she is love. That's when the world calls her dangerous. But she's not dangerous. She's free. And that freedom scares the people who still depend on control. You can probably think of someone like that, a woman who carries herself with quiet strength. She doesn't shout. She doesn't argue. She just knows who she is. And that calm confidence? It changes everything. Now, if you're listening and wondering how you can step into that same kind of power, don't worry, I've got you. Let's talk about a few practical ways to build that inner strength in your own life. First, create space for yourself. Even just 15 minutes a day. That's all it takes to reconnect with who you are. You can journal, go for a walk, or sit quietly with your thoughts. It doesn't matter how you do it, what matters is that you give yourself permission to just be. When you spend time alone, you stop hearing everyone else's opinions for a while. You start hearing your own voice again. And that voice? It's been waiting for you. Second, set emotional boundaries. This one's tough at first, especially if you're used to pleasing everyone. But here's the truth, you're not cold for saying no. You're calm for protecting your peace. Boundaries aren't walls. They're fences, and you get to decide who comes through the gate. Third, find your why. What lights you up? What makes you feel alive? When you focus on purpose instead of people, you stop being tossed around by everyone else's moods and expectations. You become steady. And that's what makes you powerful. Even psychologists say that once you stop depending on external validation, once you stop living for the approval of others, your emotional resilience goes through the roof. Your confidence doesn't come from people cheering you on. It comes from knowing that no matter what happens, you'll be okay. That's real strength. That's freedom. So the next time someone calls a strong, independent woman too much, intimidating, or hard to handle, just smile. Because what they're really saying is, I can't control you anymore. And that's exactly the point. Now, before we wrap this up, I want you to think about something. What was your moment of realization? That one time you decided, I deserve better, or I don't need to prove myself anymore. Was it after heartbreak? Was it after being overlooked one too many times? Or maybe it was a quiet morning when you just decided to start over. Whatever it was, that was your awakening. That was the beginning of your power. And I'd love to hear about it. What's one moment in your life that made you realize your own strength? Drop it in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And hey, if this message spoke to you, if you felt that spark of recognition somewhere deep down, then you'll want to check out my next video, When Silence Becomes Strength, The Psychology of Walking Away. It takes this idea even deeper, and trust me, you'll love it. Before you go, remember this, you're not too much. You're not too emotional. You're not too independent. You're just finally enough. You've stopped trying to shrink yourself to fit other people's comfort zones. And that is the most powerful thing you can ever do. So keep standing tall. Keep believing in yourself, even on the quiet days. Because one day you'll look back and realize, you weren't falling apart. You were becoming unstoppable. And maybe that's the real meaning behind Johnny Depp's words. A woman alone, a woman who knows her value, who can stand on her own, who loves herself deeply, isn't dangerous because she wants to hurt anyone. She's dangerous because she can't be broken anymore. She's whole. She's free. And that freedom changes everything. Thanks for watching, my friend. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Until then, stay grounded, stay kind, and remember, you don't need permission to shine. Because the moment you realize that, you become the most powerful force in the world.